Hey guys, back again with another video. It's been a while actually since I've done a video. I've been playing a lot of games, so instead of doing a review for every game, just a classic games I've been playing recently episode. I don't know what number this is. I'll figure that out and do it later. I've been playing. I have 5 games. I'm playing one game right now. I finished 4 of them. I'm still playing Monster Hunter World. I'm not going to talk about it much here. You all saw my review already. Still playing that game. 170 hours, I want to say, into it, and it's still not boring yet. The end game is still pretty addictive. Hunting all the tempered monsters and augmenting your gear, which is a cool thing. I don't think I really mentioned in my review because I hadn't really got to that stuff yet. But man, that game is so good. Like still so good. But I have moved on to other games now. I'm not only playing that. I'm not like addicted to that game as much anymore. First game we'll talk about, it's not in order of when I played them. I'm just going to, pick random games here. The first one's a digital title called Celeste. It's on Switch, PS4, PC, probably Xbox One as well, actually. It's really popular on the Switch. I feel like a lot of indie games these days sell a lot more on the Switch than the other systems. It's actually kind of crazy. Like, people that own Switches buy fucking everything. I got it on PS4, though. I don't use Switch as a handheld much, so that part of it doesn't appeal to me. And then trophies. I'm mostly trophies, even though I'm not a huge trophy hunter or anything like that. And yeah, this game is getting a lot of praise. It's gotten really good reviews. I enjoyed it. I just played through it not too long ago. I don't think it's as amazing as some reviewers are making it out to be. I don't think it's on the level of something like Shovel Knight as far as like a pure side-scrolling indie platformer goes. I think that game has stronger level design, and the music's better in that game, I think. And it's just, I don't know, that game had more of this classic feel to it. I like the shovel mechanic a little more than the dash mechanic. It was a little more combat focused, but it also had platforming in it as well. Celeste is a pure platformer, 2D side-scrolling platformer. And then something like Hollow Knight from last year, I think, is a far more impressive game than this. This game's got amazing level design. It's some of the craziest level design I've seen in a platformer in quite some time. It's a lot of people talking about the story and the fact that it actually at least has one for this type of game, which is pretty rare. And its themes are pretty relatable for me, and I actually kind of like the main character quite a bit in it. And a lot of the dialogue, there's this one dialogue scene at a campfire halfway through the game that I thought was really well done. I don't think the story is mind-blowing or anything like that, but it's got a little more depth to it than you expect for a game like this. But it's mainly the gameplay that's gonna get you in this one. It reminds me of, I guess, Super Meat Boy, where it's one of those games where it's like you go screen by screen, and the game is hard as fuck, and you're gonna die a lot. So basically, when you die, you pretty much immediately start where you die, and you have infinite lives. So it's one of those games that's not very punishing, yet it's extremely difficult. I died almost 2,500 times just with my standard playthrough of the game. So yeah, if you're not looking for a challenge, then stay away from this game, because it will just completely wreck you. And that's only the main game. The main game was hard enough. There's a lot of screens, especially towards the end of the game, that just took me forever to get through. There's also these B-sides that you unlock, which is really cool because they're like alternate versions of these levels that I guess were maybe too hard, so they were cut from the final game. And then they even have remixed music, remixed themes that play in those particular levels. But these ones are insanely difficult. I cleared the first one, and that was about it. I gave up pretty quickly because these are just absurd. You will die thousands of times just on one of these early B-side levels. And I played through the later ones with the assist mode on just to see what they were like, and holy fuck, it's unbelievable actually how hard these levels are. They actually surpass I Want to Be the Guy in terms of devilish design. And so much so that 100%ing this game actually to me seems nearly impossible. From what I've seen, only one person has actually done this so far. Because you get these strawberries in these levels that you have to collect. They don't really do anything. They just add extra challenge to the levels if you see them. There's crystal hearts that you find in the middle of these levels, though, that are really well hidden, that actually do something. They unlock this final level, which is actually a really cool level. But if you basically at the end of once you've done a lot of this optional content, gone through the B-sides as well as the C-sides, yeah, there's even harder levels but they're actually mercifully short, the C-sides, so I actually found them to be easier than the B-sides, because they just went on forever. But eventually you'll get golden strawberries, and to 100% the game, you have to get every golden strawberry. The problem is, though, you jump at it in the beginning of the level, and then you have to carry it to the very end of the level without dying. So you have to go through these B-side levels, getting the golden strawberries, and these are levels that are going to take the average player like 1,000 deaths just to pass, and they expect you to actually beat the entire thing in one go with no deaths. It's fucking absurd. It is one of the hardest things I've ever seen in a game to 100% it. Now you could just use the assist mode and cheat and give yourself invincibility and stuff like that, but the guy on YouTube I saw this video, he did the whole thing with no deaths and no assist mode on, which I was just blown away by that. But then I looked at his channel, and it turns out that's what he's known for. This guy is just doing the hardest shit in games. He's done like these crazy runs of I Want to Be the Guy and stuff like that. So that's his forte, right? So I guess it's not too surprising that he's done this, but it's just in terms of like 100%ing a game, it's the hardest game I've ever seen. It's up there with the hardest games ever made. I would say like it's. All these classic games that a lot of people bring up, the original Ninja Gaiden and Battletoads, they've got nothing on like 100%ing Celeste. I guess in terms of like my problems with the game, some of the levels, like it's not like a linear progression sometimes. Sometimes you have like multiple directions you can be going in. And I found the game kind of lost its focus a little bit in those sections. It got a little too cumbersome, I guess. I wasn't a big fan of how they changed level design like that. Some of the gimmicks I like more than others. There's one level where wind is constantly pushing and pulling you. I thought that was kind of annoying to deal with. Now, this might be like the PS4 controller. Maybe on other versions it's easier to do this and it doesn't happen as much. But the dash mechanic, I mean, the main mechanic with this game is the dash mechanic where you're like doing all these mid-air dashes and climbing. You have like stamina as well. But directional dashes are far too easy to screw up. Sometimes you'll swear you did one, and then turns out you did a side dash, and then you'll die because of it. Because this game requires like perfect precision with your platforming. So that was a little frustrating. I do think it gets a little long towards the end too. It starts to feel like, okay, I've kind of seen enough here. I'm kind of getting a little tired of this now. And it just keeps going and going and going, the last chapter in particular. But, I mean, I guess the exhaustive nature of the game is, it has to do with the themes of the game as well. So it kind of makes sense why the difficulty is the way it is. The assist mode, I've seen a lot of people talking about this. It's weird because it's like, it's an option, right? You don't have to turn it on. It's just there for people that want to use it. Although, honestly, it feels like cheating to me. I don't know. It feels like it just completely removes the tension from the game. But even the developer in the game actually says this is going to remove, like, it's not intended to be used on your first playthrough. And yeah, but it's it's easy to ignore. Just the problem with it, I find, is if it's constantly there in the menu, you might tend to want to like try using it when you get really frustrated and give up too easily, but I guess depends on the player. Soundtrack in this game is incredible. It's really good. It's really like subdued and moody and really fits like the theme of the game. Some really catchy melodies in there as well. And then I love that there was different B-side remixes of these different songs. It's pixel art. It's your typical indie pixel art game. So it's not like, I don't think, again, like, it's not, I think like Shovel Knight looks a lot better. Hollow Knight has a more striking art style to it as well, but that's not pixel. This one's definitely your standard kind of pixel art game, which I like. I've always loved this kind of look in games. As someone that's grown up with NES and Super Nintendo games, I'm right at home with something like Celeste. But yeah, there's probably other stuff I'm missing, but yeah, fun game. I enjoyed it. I don't know. I don't quite love it. I don't think it's like this masterpiece that's a ton of people are claiming, but I do think it's well worth your time if it's your style of game. Just be warned, this game will kick your ass. Really, really tough. Alright, so the next game, let's go with this one here. I picked up the Secret of Mana remake on the PS4 here. Interestingly enough, a GameStop EB Games exclusive. I don't know why, but those have followed me for a while know that I hate Secret of Mana. I absolutely despise this game. And you'd be surprised that I would actually try to pick this up. It's kind of a remake, although they actually called it a remaster on this one, so it feels more in line with like a remaster. They didn't change much. It generally stays faithful to the original. Now, this might shock some people. I actually like this now. I actually dig Secret of Mana. Now, I still have a million issues with this game. I still think this game, for the most part, doesn't hold up that well. And they didn't fix a lot of my problems with the original game. The AI on your partners is still utter trash. They always get stuck on things. They always get killed, especially in boss battles. You constantly have to babysit them. They removed some AI options actually from the original, but they didn't help in the original anyways, so it's not a big deal that they're not in this game. But yeah, AI is still trash. The hit detection is actually one of the things that was fixed in this one for the most part. Being able to attack in all directions now is pretty nice. I feel like you don't... it's a little better, but it's still not perfect, the hit detection in this game. It's still got the annoying, grindy magic system, that combat system where you have to wait between every attack. You know, the storyline is still not very good. The translation in this game is... I mean, I think they redid the translation, but it's still not great like the original game. So yeah, but I mean, there's a couple things they fixed here. The big one for me is the auto-saving. The original game, you had to save at save points, and these save points were so infrequent. You would have to go through entire dungeons and boss battles with no saving, upwards of 30 minutes at a time. And it was so fucking tedious, especially with the early game actually being quite difficult. It made it so frustrating. And now you can autosave after every screen, and it's probably a good thing too, because this PS4 version crashes constantly. It's crashed like 6 times on me. So that's a bit of a bummer. But auto-saving, it makes the game so much more playable along with the hit detection. And there's some other things. I love the fact that there's like these dialogue scenes when you sleep at an inn now. It adds much needed personality to these characters, which were like really wooden and like nothing characters in the original. So I definitely appreciated that. They did a remixed soundtrack. For the most part, it's not very good. There's a couple songs that I think are better than the original songs, but for the most part, the original soundtrack is far better. And playing through this game, finally reaching like near the end of it, I can say that Secret of Mana has got one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. The soundtrack in this game is incredible. Fucking fantastic. Almost every song in it is just so good. This was back at a time where just like music in games, especially Japanese games, was just so memorable and so catchy, and like there's a lot of sad kind of somber type songs in here that I really enjoy as well. It's a beautiful soundtrack, and you can put on the original soundtrack, thank God, because yeah, the remix soundtrack's not so good. The graphics, a lot of people are talking about the graphics. I think that's the thing that people are talking about the most with this remake. Do I prefer the 2D art of the original Super Nintendo game? Yes. I think that game still looks better than the 3DS style 3D graphics they've got in this. It's grown on me, surprisingly enough. I actually don't mind the look of this game. I think it kind of grows on you the more you play it. The characters have a lot of like expression to them, and I like what they've done with some of the environments in the game. It's not a gorgeous game or anything like that, but there's a certain level of charm to the new visuals that I think is not apparent if you just watch videos of the game. You really have to play it for yourself. But I think one of the reasons why I'm able to get into this game a little more now is because I'm playing it with a friend, and he's really loving it. So it's kind of like affected me a little bit, and I've gotten more into it as well. We've even done 3-player at certain times, which I feel like no one ever does 3-player Secret of Mana. So it's good when it's 3 players. There's no horrible AI to contend with. You're all trying to grind up different magics, and you're all like using teamwork. Like, it works. It's just, as a single-player game, it's horrible. I don't recommend this as a single-player game at all. Unless you're a huge fan of the original, then you probably won't mind. But as newcomers to this game, it's gonna feel so dated, and it's boring by yourself. And then you have to contend with this awful AI that's just completely ruining the experience for you, and it sucks. But if you have a friend to play with, local co-op only, unfortunately. It's, I think, kind of worth your time. It's an old game. It feels old in a lot of ways, and they really didn't update it that much. I basically covered all the changes. I mean, the other ones you can now, instead of four of each item, you can have 12, which is pretty cool. It kind of breaks the game a little bit. And in this game, it's got a crazy inverse difficulty curve. Like, the game starts out pretty hard. There's these ranged enemies that shoot arrows at you that are extremely fast, and again, they kill your partner characters if you're playing by yourself so quickly. Even if you have a third player controlling this sprite character, they die so fast to these enemies, it's absurd. And then the bosses do a ton of damage. They tend to spam magic, unskippable magic animations, which is another thing that drives me nuts about the game. But it's really hard in the beginning, but eventually, the more you level up your weapons, the more you level up your magic, it gets easier and easier. And now towards the end of the game, we're just absolutely demolishing everything. Our weapons are doing status effects. It's putting like all these enemies to sleep and confusing them and freezing them and all this shit. We just got a spell for the sprite character that basically absorbs MP. Because magic's so overpowered in this game, it's essentially infinite MP for that character, and the sprite character's magic is super powerful in this game, especially like the moon magic that we just got. So we feel like we've broken the game somehow, but we're just playing it normally. We're not grinding or anything like that. So yeah, very strange. It starts out so difficult, and then yeah, it's incredibly easy right now. Like very, 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 very easy. It's kind of crazy. It's definitely one of the more interesting inverse difficulty curves I've seen with the game. I like the weapon system this time around, actually. I like how the game encourages you to use different weapons, because they get capped out depending on the orbs that you have for that particular weapon. So it's best to actually just keep switching between them, so all of them are equally powerful. And it's cool. I actually kind of like the way you level up your weapons. I don't know, the way magic works is a little annoying. You can't set shortcuts for favorite spells when you're in multiplayer mode, which is a little annoying, and again, it pauses the action, right, every time you use a spell, and every time the enemies uses a spell. So I don't know, and the fact that you just have to grind out the certain magics over and over and over again to level them up, it just, I don't know, I feel like the magic system does not quite work well as like the weapon system. The ring menu system is something I thought was kind of cumbersome in the original game. For some strange reason, I actually like it more here, though it can be annoying at certain times. Another thing this game, you can't compare like equipment. You can't see what equipment is going to change, like what stats they're going to change. If a certain item at a new store is going to give you higher defense or lower than what you've got equipped. Baffling to me that in 2018 I'm playing a JRPG that doesn't show those comparisons. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's something that's could have been so easily fixed with this this remake or this remaster, but I think actually there's a patch coming out for it soon that fixes that. But yeah, Secret of Mana, against all odds, I'm actually liking it actually this time. It's such a slight like remake remaster, but there's enough's changed here to actually make me like the game. I still don't think it's a great game. It's certainly no masterpiece. I'm still baffled by people calling this like one of the best games ever made. No way, no fucking way. I could never say that. But yeah, I no longer hate this game. I no longer hate good old Secret of Mana, which is good. There's another game here, and I'll talk about too, that I've turned around on completely. Which, man, I feel like there's so many games nowadays that I used to hate that I really love now. I don't know, it's crazy that seems to keep happening within these past few years. Alright, so next up is Super Mario Galaxy for the original Wii, actually. I have played this game before. I played it back when it came out, and it's one of those games that I've always looked back on since, and it was a period of my life where I was playing a lot of first-person shooters. This came out in, what, 2007? So I was, 17 when this game came out. I was a stupid teenager. I loved shooters, so I don't think I fully appreciated this game at the time. I certainly didn't think it was like this masterpiece that a lot of reviewers were saying it was back in the day. So it's always been a game I've wanted to go back to, especially since I've really grown to like absolutely love the 3D Mario games as I've gotten older. I finally was able to get into Mario 64 just a couple of years ago now, actually. And yeah, I kind of want to go through the entire series, like the 3D Mario series, so I can do like a series review. So it was time to go back to this one because it's been so long. I've forgotten about a lot about this game, and what a great game. I mean, like, it's such a joy playing through this. It's still to this day such a creative game. The way Nintendo was able to build on concepts in these levels is just staggering. It's just like every galaxy you come across is just so colorful and vibrant and just packed with variety. And it's just the game there's rarely a misstep with this game. It's not perfect. Being on the Wii, it's got tacked on motion controls, which is the game's biggest downfall. Pointing the Wiimote to collect the star bits isn't so bad, though it can hurt your wrist at times. I really don't like playing the game and having to raise up your Wiimote and point it at the screen. I fucking hate that. But the parts where you have to like shake the Wiimote to spin attack it's such a major component of the game, and I hate it because it's that little wrist motion that you do. It starts to become uncomfortable after a while, and it takes more time than a simple button press would do. And the thing that bugs me is the fact that the Z button on the nunchuck isn't used. You don't use it for anything in this game. Why couldn't that be? Why couldn't the spin attack be on that button? It blows my goddamn mind. I don't know. It's tiring. The games can be tiring because you're constantly flicking to do that spin attack, and it's just not fully accurate. Then you got like the stingray levels and the levels where you roll on the ball, where the motion controls are just not good enough for what they ask of you, and yeah, it can be frustrating at those parts of the game. Other than that, though, it's such impeccable game design here. I had a smile on my face the entire time playing it. It's like the music is fantastic. It's one of the few orchestral soundtracks that I really like the orchestral songs in this game. But I do like the songs that aren't orchestral better. It still looks great to this day, even though it's on the Wii with the shitty resolution. There's I guess a couple other things I didn't love about this game, but I got, I think, like 112 stars of the standard 120. I think the game's optional content, other than the main game, is a little weak. It's a lot of the end game stars are purple coin ones, and I fucking hate purple coins. I've always hated purple coins, and they're not good in this, where you have to scour these levels for like 10 minutes to find all of them, or you've got these really frustrating ones where it's so easy to fuck up and the time limits are so strict. There's a lot of filler in this game too. Like the comets, I think, are just kind of lazy ways to make you play the same levels over again. And then the fact that once you get all 120 stars, you unlock Luigi, which is kind of cool. His moveset's a little different, but it's all the stars you've already gotten all over again. So I don't know, like that to me is not really fun. So I didn't get 100% in this game. I have no interest in going for the 100%. Maybe if there weren't purple coins in it. I talked about this in Mario 64. I hated it in Mario 64, the coin stars, where you had to get all the coins in a level. I hate that kind of shit. Like finding like 100 of something in a level, because you always get to that problem where you're missing one or two, and then it's like finding a needle in a haystack. I don't know. It's just tedious design. I've always hated it, and I hate it in this game too. But for the most part, this game is super enjoyable. I was surprised by how challenging it was towards the end. Some of the later stars are like pretty tough, and the platforming, dude. This game has like fantastic platforming, which it's interesting, playing Mario Odyssey and then going back to this. This game has far more in common with Mario 64 than Odyssey does. Odyssey is like Banjo-Kazooie. Like, it's a collectathon. And it had very little platforming in it when you really think about it, but I still love Odyssey. I haven't changed my opinion on that game at all. It's just Galaxy's a very different kind of game. It's far more focused on platforming, and it's just a far more focused game in general, I think. And I think I'm starting to see why a lot of people were disappointed in Odyssey, because it's so different from all the other 3D Mario games. Maybe Sunshine's similar. I haven't played Sunshine yet, but yeah, going back to this made me really realize how different Odyssey was. But yeah, Galaxy is still a phenomenal game to this day. Well worth your time if you haven't played it. And I'm excited to play the second one. I've never really played it. I've played it maybe like an hour or two of it, and that was about it. So yeah, I'm very interested to see if that game is like an improvement over this one, I feel like it's mixed. Some people prefer this one. Some people prefer the second one. We'll see. I know the hub world was removed the second game, which, you know what? The hub world in Galaxy is a little lame. There's really not much to it. So I don't see that being like a decrease in quality or anything like that for Galaxy 2. But yeah, Galaxy 1, played through it, quite enjoyed it. It's an excellent game. And next up is Shadow of the Colossus on PS4 here. A remaster. I never played this game when it first came out on PS2, so I didn't have that that time in my life where this game just completely blew my mind like it did everyone else that played it. And then I played it for the first time on PS3 actually when that version first came out, and something about the controls just didn't do it for me. I couldn't get into the controls of the game, and I gave up pretty early in. And I always kind of felt like I wasn't giving the game enough of a chance, that I gave up too early. So it was a nice surprise that I actually announced like a remaster of this game, like this absolutely gorgeous remaster. Like this, dude, this game looks amazing. It's one of the best looking games I've ever seen. Like the forests in this, like it's so natural. Like the environments in this game are so natural. It's crazy. It's got the most realistic looking environments I've seen in a game. It's really impressive. But anyways, I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this game one more chance with this remaster. Maybe I'll finally get into it this time. And I did. I get it. I get Shadow of the Colossus. Now, it's not one of my favorite games of all time or anything like that. This isn't like a game. This isn't like a life-changing experience for me or anything. I would never call it one of my all-time favorite games, but I do appreciate it now, and I understand where the constant praise for it comes from. It's frustrating. It can be a frustrating game. At many points, I was very frustrated with it, but then I would get to the next Colossus, and it was like this amazing, epic fight with there's just all like these crazy, like, and the game's constantly just throwing new ideas with each of these Colossus at you, or Colossi rather. And then the story is surprisingly good in this game. I think it's really impactful. The ending is often talked about as like one of the greatest video game endings of all time, and yeah, it's a doozy. It really surprised me. Luckily I had kind of knew like the general things that always happened at the ending of this game. I wasn't like 100% spoiler free for it, but enough was not told to me where it was like a still surprise in a lot of ways. The controls, I actually went with the original controls and not the modern controls this time around, because I thought I think actually, well, really my roommate told me to use the original controls. Apparently he was like, no, the controls are really good, just they take a little time to get used to. And he was right. I actually did eventually get used to them, and I actually don't mind the controls, at least that original control method. It's interesting because this game is such a simple game. It's a very simple game at its core, where you have this massive open world with nothing in it. You're the only person. It's like this cursed land basically that no one goes to, and you're just like going from one Colossus to the other. Every time you kill one, you go back to your little kind of hub area, if you will, and then you make the trek to the next one, and then you go back, and then you make the trek to the next one. So there's a lot of just wandering around on your horse in this empty wasteland, basically. These like amazing, beautiful environments, and it really kind of gives you time to reflect on like on what you've done, kind of in the past. I feel like the game wouldn't have worked so well actually without a lot of the downtime. It's needed with how intense these fights can be. Although the boss battles, like they're really boss battles because the game is mostly boss battles, they're pretty intense, but they're short. They're very short at the same time. For the most part, I enjoyed a lot of them. There's 16 of them in the game. There's maybe 3 that I would say I didn't like. The final boss I thought was very frustrating, actually. Like, I actually hated the final boss in this game. It's got a lot of spectacle to it. It looks cool. It's this really epic fight, but it was very finicky. I found it very finicky, that whole entire fight. And then the beginning of it is very trial and error. And you get killed like so fast and so easily. I don't know. I was very frustrated with the final boss. And I think the biggest problem I have with this game overall is with the AI. The AI is not perfect in this game. A lot of these boss battles, you have to have the AI do a very specific thing to be able to climb it. And a lot of times the Colossus, it refuses to do what you need it to do. There's one in particular that you have to get it to walk over these geysers in the environment. And so you got to get it to follow you, and it just fucking doesn't follow you. Like, it will just constantly shoot these lasers at you, no matter what you do. If you get on your horse, get off of it, it's just, there's no way to lure it, and it does whatever the fuck it wants to, and it's so goddamn frustrating. I was so pissed off during that fight. There's another one towards the end of the game where you have to get it to smash its hand on the ground so you can climb up in its palm, and it would never do it. It would constantly do this leg slam attack. And it was like I would run around for 2 minutes, and then when it eventually did do the attack, you have not even a second to get on the hand, and then it also creates this shockwave that makes you fall back, and it was so frustrating. And then you had like whenever you get knocked down, your character will just lay on the ground for like fucking like 5 seconds before he gets up. Like, that's the kind of shit. Like, there's some things this game does for realism's sake that is just kind of annoying, and it kind of gets in the way of the actual gameplay of the game. There's probably going to be disagreements with me on that. I think a lot of people will be like, well, it's the point of the game or whatever. But honestly, the actual game part of it can be very frustrating sometimes. But man, some of these fights though, the flying Colossus fights, like even today, they are just absolutely incredible. They must have been so mind blowing back in the day. And then the frame rate in this one, it's finally the game actually runs at a stable frame rate. Even the PS3 version was not like a solid 30 FPS. So that's good to see that this game finally has the frame rate that it deserves. But yeah, I understand the hype with this game. I finally get it, and for the most part, I really did enjoy it, despite some frustrations here and there. That said, I don't see myself ever replaying it. It's not the type of game I could see myself ever replaying. I know there's some optional stuff in this game you can find, but apparently to access one area, you have to like get a full stamina meter and full health meter, and to do that, you either wander the map searching for fruit or silver-tailed lizards, which, it's like finding like a needle in a haystack, or you have to beat the game like 6 times in a row, which I could never do that. No way. But yeah, I enjoyed my time with Shadow of the Colossus. I finally get it. Again, a game I no longer hate, which is pretty crazy. And then finally, the last game, I'm playing this game right now, actually, and that's Kingdom Hearts 2 on this 2.5, 1.5 collection. I played the first one not that long ago, actually. I think I have a review up on the channel. I enjoyed it for the most part. It was frustrating at a lot of points, and I think the combat's a little clunky in that game, but I liked it. And Chain of Memories, I don't know if I talked about Chain of Memories yet. I got halfway through it and I gave up because that game is fucking garbage. I never want to play that game again. It's absolutely horrible. And it sucks because the story of that game is actually apparently essential for the rest of the series. So I had to watch the cutscenes for that game. Although they just, like, I watched all the cutscenes for that game and, like, a day after I'd already forgotten everything. Because, I don't know, things tend to all blur together with the Kingdom Hearts games in terms of its story for me. So after Chain of Memories, I guess the next in the pattern, well, not pattern, but the next game chronologically is, I don't think that's the right word, but whatever. Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days, the worst fucking title. So it's originally a DS game, and on this compilation, it's a 3-hour movie. I watched an hour of it, and I give up. No, not even an hour. I think I watched 30 minutes. It's so dull. It's so convoluted. I think I have given up on the story in these games. I know a lot of people really get into it. I can't do it. The Organization 13 shit, Roxas, all that shit, I don't care. I see that shit, I'm just like, I don't care about this. This is just actually get me the Disney stuff. Anyways, though, Kingdom Hearts 2, I'm about maybe like 15 hours into the game at this point, and oh my god, I'm actually kind of blown away by this game. Like, it's fucking awesome. This has got to be one of the most improved sequels I've ever seen. The first game, I thought it was okay. The combat was clunky, but this second game, they've improved the combat so much. It's actually insane. It feels so much better. It's a lot more fluid. It's faster. The things they've added to the combat are phenomenal. The drive system, where you have these different forms that completely change the way the combat flows. The Valor form is more melee focused, and you do all these sick combos. And then the next form, you have like this gun, and you're flying around the maps, doing all like these matrix moves, shooting projectiles at the enemies. Then you have like the limit system that's in the game, where you have all these team attacks with Donald, Goofy, and some of the other party members that join you, and they're just super flashy and so different from one another. All the enemy variety is top notch. The bosses are so much better in this game. I hated like half of the bosses in the first Kingdom Hearts, and this game I feel like there are more like I feel like Kingdom Hearts, the bosses, there were some cool concepts, but they didn't execute on them, and the combat was too clunky to really make the fights work as well as they should have. Kingdom Hearts 2 completely fixes this. They have these cool concepts for these bosses, and they work. They're extremely fun to fight, and there's like these the Organization 13 members. They're like these optional fights I've seen so far. I definitely gonna come back to them later, because the first one was really hard, but it had this cool kind of hook to it where you would like. I don't really want to spoil it actually, because I don't know. There's a lot of cool bosses in this game from what I've seen. I love the bosses. Exploring the Disney worlds is just as fun as it was in the first Kingdom Hearts. Really, this game, the only thing about this game that I think is worse than the first game are maybe like the actual level design. And I've heard a few people talk about this before, where the first Kingdom Hearts game, the environments were very open. There was a lot of different ways to go, and the geometry of the levels was pretty complex at times, especially like the Tarzan jungle level. The levels were kind of dense. This game, it's basically just a bunch of connected corridors, and then going like from combat arena to combat arena. The level design definitely took a bit of a hit. It's a bit lazy in this game. I feel like it wasn't one of the focuses of this game, but you know what? It doesn't bother me that much, and when everything else about the game is so much better than the first one, then yeah, whatever. I'm okay with the level design maybe being a tad weaker. It's still got the great RPG elements to it as well. I don't have the dodge roll yet. You have to unlock it by like leveling up the one of the forms to a higher level, but I don't miss it as much as I thought I would, especially as the combat kind of opens up later. I feel like the combat is designed around the fact that you're not really supposed to have the dodge move, because the original Kingdom Hearts 2 on PS2, apparently it didn't actually even have it. It's only this 2.5 version that actually has it. There's this one world in Kingdom Hearts 2 that I just got to. I actually streamed the game a little while back, and I was this one world. I don't really want to spoil it rather. I'll say the world name, because for people that have played the game, the Timeless River world is fantastic. The level of detail in that world, and just how it surprised me. I had never seen gameplay of it before. I had no idea it existed in this game. Neither did I know that the Pirates of the Caribbean world was in this game. I know Kingdom Hearts is one of those series that I've just ignored for so long. But the Timeless River world is phenomenal. I had the biggest smile on my face the entire time playing through that section. It was just glorious. The gummy ship levels are a million times better in this game too. They're no longer like these really basic, clunky shoot-'em-up stages. Now they play more like a Star Fox game, where you can kind of like hold the fire button to save a bunch of missiles and target a bunch of enemies at once and shoot a bunch of them. The sense of speed is a lot better with the gummy ship levels. It's far easier to customize your ships. It's man, Kingdom Hearts 2. I'm actually kind of in awe of this game. I'm shocked. I haven't been so surprised by a game in a very long time. I absolutely love it so far. And it's made me more excited for Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm hyped for that game now, especially if they continue to improve the combat in this series. I mean, Kingdom Hearts 3, the combat in that game is probably going to be absolutely spectacular. And then combine that with the absolutely gorgeous videos that they've shown, and then the fact that they've got Pixar movies now. They've got fucking Toy Story. Toy Story is like one of my favorite Pixar movies. In fact, it pretty much is my favorite. It was such a huge movie for me as a child, so I'm really looking forward to see how they handle that. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2. Wow, I'm very impressed by this game. I'm really blown away by it, and I'm interested to see what the next games are going to be like. Like Birth by Sleep, I've heard is also really good. It makes a lot of improvements, as well as Dream Drop Distance. So yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2. It's it's one of those games too. I'm shocked I'm playing a Square game, like a SquareSoft game that has such good action combat. It feels like I'm playing a goddamn character action game. Like it's that good. Like I don't know. It's shocking to me, the level of improvement between the first and second game. I'll never go back to the first game. It feels so. It's crazy because there was only like 3 or 4 years between the two games. Yeah, it feels like Kingdom Hearts 2 came out like years and years after. It's crazy. Excellent game, man. I'm really enjoying it. But enough gushing about that. That's all the games I've been playing. Still Kingdom Hearts 2. Before Kingdom Hearts 3, I am going to try to finish all of the Kingdom Hearts games. We'll see if I can do it. I don't know. It might be a little tough, but we'll see. What have you guys been playing? What games are you looking forward to? And yeah, that's it. I'll thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.